night. Trump is not a happy little meal right now. Every time he gets asked about Jeffrey Epstein, he loses his mind.
Yeah, Jennifer, go ahead. Go ahead.
In the file, Venezuela,
Why not act? Why acting as if
Quiet, Piggy.
He called her Piggy. He said, "Quiet Piggy," to a reporter, and it barely made the news. If a man spoke like that to a female coworker in like a workplace harassment training video, you go, that's over the top. Nobody would do that. But if the pilot on Air Force One behaved like the president, he wouldn't be allowed to fly the plane. Okay, that was Friday. Today, in Washington today, the Senate Judiciary Committee grilled FBI Director Kash Patel.
It's an honor to be here with you today as the 9th Director of the FBI, to bring this fugitive to justice. We have also arrested, this may be the most important part, about to face charges.
If you think late night TV is calm, think again. Jimmy Kimmel turned into a full-force comedy wrecking ball and obliterated Kash Patel and Donald Trump on national television. This wasn't a monologue, it was a roast dipped in jet fuel. What did he say? Why are Trump supporters spiraling online? And how did Kash Patel walk directly into a perfectly laid joke trap? Buckle up, because this entire situation goes from sharp to ridiculous in seconds.
Blackout drunk for defense secretary was a bad call. Allow me to introduce you to Bobby Brainworm, Comrade Tulsi Gabbard, and kooky Kash Patel. This is the man Donald Trump wants to run the FBI. Look at him. I mean, he's all ready to release the files, passes the House. It will then go to the Senate, and then if it passes the Senate, it goes to Trump's desk, where he would be forced to sign or veto it, which would be a very embarrassing way for him to learn how a bill becomes a law.
Jimmy Kimmel didn't walk onto the set like a typical host. He stormed in like a man held emotionally hostage by nonstop news and finally snapped the moment Trump crossed his mind. The audience was already laughing before he even finished arranging his face into that familiar expression that says, "I absolutely woke up and chose chaos today."
Trump did what most people would do when faced with a scandal that could potentially end his presidency. He welcomed an evil prince to the White House. He welcomed the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, Mohammed bin Salman, the only leader who treats reporters worse than he does, to a big lavish dinner in his honor. Mohammed bin Salman, this is a guy who gave a green light to the brutal murder of Jamal Khashoggi, a columnist for the Washington Post, who'd been critical of bin Salman's regime, but
When Kimmel began unloading on Kash Patel, it wasn't light humor, it was a meteor strike. He skipped the warm-up entirely and switched to a verbal flamethrower, delivering punchlines with the intensity of someone sponsored by the Burn Cream Manufacturers Association. Every line hit like he'd been saving it for months.
Same time last year. Ongoing investigations, not crime-free, and we're going to keep going. Lastly, I want to close with
The Kash Patel Senate hearings, brought to you by Flonase. All good.
you know what,
Then came Trump. The moment his name filled the air, it felt like a dramatic lighting cue snapped on. Subtlety vanished. Gentle comedy evaporated. Kimmel launched into full theatrical mode, treating Trump's constant reappearance in the news like a subscription service no one requested but keeps renewing itself anyway, trapping everyone in another unwanted cycle.
Representative Massey says he's concerned that the Epstein probe you are calling for could be a smokescreen to block the release of more files. Is that the case?
Well, I don't want to talk about it because fake news like you're a terrible reporter, and fake news like you, they just keep bringing that up to deflect from the tremendous success of the Trump administration.
That's right. Enough with the deflections and the distractions. Let's talk about my new ballroom at the White House.
Every time Patel's bold claims resurfaced, the audience reacted like they were watching someone argue over glitching Wi-Fi. Kimmel mocked how Patel carries himself with the exaggerated seriousness of a man convinced he's in a high-stakes spy thriller, yet keeps tripping over garden hoses. The disconnect between his tone and reality became its own punchline.
Patel was summoned to explain why they refused to release the Epstein files they promised to release. He was dodgy, sketchy, sniffy, combative, and just unpleasant overall. He couldn't even answer a question from fellow Republican John Kennedy.
Who, if anyone, did Epstein traffic these young women to besides himself?
himself. There is no credible information. None. If there were, I would bring the case yesterday.
Forget yesterday.
Comparison game escalated quickly. Trump was described with the energy reserved for someone who types in all caps because he thinks the keyboard responds to volume. His bravado was dissected like a casserole built entirely from confidence with zero actual substance. And those dramatic announcement-style speeches he adores, Kimmel painted them as the verbal equivalent of someone blowing a trumpet inside a tiny elevator. No one escapes. No one pretends it isn't happening. Everyone is forced to endure it. Patel reappeared throughout the monologue, bouncing in and out like someone repeatedly caught sneaking backstage but refusing to leave because they're convinced they're crucial to the storyline. Kimmel didn't need direct quotes. Instead, he crafted vivid scenes illustrating Patel's absolute belief in every dramatic proclamation, no matter how poorly it aligned with reality. It felt like watching a magician proudly display an empty hat again and again, insisting the rabbit is spiritually present even if physically missing. The comedy wasn't in the content, it was in the unwavering confidence behind it.
All this talk about Epstein has resulted in the most shocking celebrity breakup since Hall versus Oates. Trump announced yet another divorce, this time with the former president of his fan club, Marjorie Taylor Greene. He wrote, "I am withdrawing my support and endorsement of Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene." He's so upset he couldn't even come up with a decent nickname for her. He wrote, "Wacky Marjorie Traitor Brown." Remember, green turns to brown when there is rot involved. Listen, if you have to explain...
The transitions were sharp enough to slice diamonds. One moment, the comedy zoomed in on Patel's unshakable certainty in his own importance. The next, it locked onto Trump's theatrical self-celebration. It felt like comedy speedrunning, as if someone strapped a turbo engine onto political satire and declared breaks optional. Kimmel showed no mercy. If sarcasm were an Olympic sport, he shattered multiple world records while dramatically waving to the crowd. As the audience roared, he dove deeper into Patel's habit of delivering statements with the proud determination of a man convinced he just solved world peace using a whiteboard and 3 half-erased markers. Kimmel reenacted Patel's seriousness with exaggerated posture, slow, deliberate pauses, and that heroic stare people wear when they believe their PowerPoint is going to alter the course of civilization. Then the laser of comedy swung back to Trump, highlighting his uncanny ability to behave like every moment is a camera-ready moment, whether cameras exist or not. In Kimmel's comedic universe, Trump doesn't simply wake up. He makes a public appearance from beneath the covers. His communication style became the theatrical equivalent of fireworks at 3 a.m. Loud, dramatic, unnecessary, and impossible to ignore no matter how tightly the windows are shut.
The files, and no explanation for why Epstein's primary accomplice, Ghislaine Maxwell, was suddenly transferred to a country club prison after meeting with Trump's lawyer. Eventually, the frustration boiled over, and Senator Cory Booker didn't just grill Patel, he flame broiled him live in front of everyone.
Here's the thing, Mr. Patel. I think you're not going to be around long. I think this might be your last oversight hearing. Because as much as you supplicate yourself to the will of Donald Trump and not the Constitution of the United States of America, Donald Trump has shown us in his first term and in this term, he is not loyal to people like you. He will cut you loose. This may be the last time I have a hearing with you because I don't think you're long.
The studio audience couldn't keep up. Laughter became a full-body sport. People clutched their seats like they were strapped into a roller coaster powered entirely by caffeine and spite. And Kimmel, sensing total control, pushed even harder. Trump was described as someone so certain of his own greatness that if you handed him a birthday balloon, he'd autograph it like a celebrity gift. The comedic rhythm was unstoppable. Patel emerged as the fantasy action hero who keeps striking dramatic poses while absolutely nothing happens. Trump appeared as the headliner of his own imaginary parade, confetti made of self-applause fluttering everywhere. It was theatrical, manic, and savagely exaggerated. Every punchline landed with the precision of a NASA-engineered trajectory. Kimmel mocked Patel's habit of delivering statements with the weight of season finales to shows that never existed. He mocked Trump's insistence that every minor action is historic, even when all he did was slightly rotate his shoulders. The transitions were so fast the camera operators probably felt motion sickness. Nothing was spared. Patel was dragged for his intense main character energy, strutting through life like every hallway is a red carpet premiere, even in grocery stores. Trump was dragged for his relentless stage presence lifestyle, forever gesturing, announcing, and performing, even when the only available audience is a confused pigeon wandering nearby.
She says she still supports Trump, but she wants to see all the Epstein files. Someone, by the way, created a searchable database of these files, the ones from the Epstein estate. You could search Trump's name, which is interesting because in September, this is what his FBI director, Kash Patel, had to say when questioned by Eric Swalwell.
You said you don't know the number of times Trump's name appears in the files, so it could at least be 1,000 times. Is that right?
You can characterize the numbers however you want it.
Claiming my time, Director. It sounds like if you don't know the number, it could at least be 1,000 times.
It's not. It's not.
Is it at least 500 times?
No.
Is it at least 100 times?
No.
Then what's the number?
I don't know the number, but it's not that.
Well, I do know the number, and Trump's name appears 2020.
Every time the audience thought the roast had peaked, Kimmel found an entirely new angle. Patel suddenly sounded like a man 3 seconds away from revealing a treasure map. Trump spoke like he was dedicating a monument to himself that only he could see. The laughter entered that chaotic zone where people stop clapping and start wheezing, rocking back and forth like they're holding onto furniture for survival. Mascara ran. A camera operator definitely shook. Kimmel looked like someone who had stored jokes in an underground bunker and finally received permission to launch them. The audience braced themselves as he described Trump's grandiosity with the flair of a man who believes history should pause every time he lifts a glass of water. It was framed as a slow-motion epic scene that exists entirely in Trump's head while everyone else is just trying to mind their business. The exaggeration was relentless, every punchline detonated. Meanwhile, Patel's confident delivery returned repeatedly, like a boomerang made of pure self-assurance. Kimmel reenacted Patel's dramatic tone with the intensity of someone reciting ancient prophecies that were actually scribbled on a crumpled fast food receipt. The portrayal was enormous, theatrical, and gloriously petty, exactly the kind of satire that makes people replay clips for days just to laugh again.
He's surveilling your soul. He's quite possibly the least qualified candidate for any cabinet position ever. He's an election denier who this morning refused to admit Joe Biden won in 2020. He refused to say those words. He produced a song with the J6 Choir. This is a group of singers who stormed the Capitol. He denied knowing any of the details of that this morning. And he wrote a children's book in tribute to Donald Trump.
Patel was framed as a man who believes he is the dramatic final puzzle piece in every national storyline. Trump was framed as the man who believes he is the storyline. Together, without ever interacting, they became limitless comedic fuel. Kimmel closed the roast with the energy of someone completing a personal spiritual journey through sarcasm. The crowd didn't politely applaud, they erupted. It sounded like a stadium finally releasing years of pent-up jokes they had all silently stored. Kimmel didn't look drained. He looked liberated, like he had expelled a ghost made entirely of breaking news alerts. There were no recycled quotes, no recycled headlines, just raw, theatrical, exaggerated interpretation. By the end, Patel had been transformed into a fictional legend of dramatic seriousness, a man whose daily activities seemingly require an action movie soundtrack. Trump had been reshaped into a spectacularly self-focused performer who treats every breath of oxygen as a spotlight. And Jimmy Kimmel became the man who took all of that and turned it into comedy fireworks visible from outer space.
The good news for Rudy is he probably won't have to worry about any more of those pesky investigations from the FBI. FBI Director Kash Patel sat for an interview with Fox News last night. And when I say sat, before I share this, I feel it's important to let you know the footage you are about to see was not altered in any way.
Peter, thank you. Welcome back to Quantico, Virginia, the FBI Academy, and we're joined by FBI Director Kash Patel.
They're so cute when they're little, aren't they?
Just when the crowd assumed the monologue had reached peak chaos, Kimmel found new comedic territory. Like a theme park powered entirely by caffeine and pettiness, he dragged Trump back into the narrative with the dramatic flair of someone reintroducing a character who refuses to exit the script. Suddenly, Trump was the man on a mission again, the self-appointed action hero of reality. He carried that unstoppable confidence of someone adjusting their tie before doing absolutely nothing. Kimmel reenacted Trump's signature seriousness like an actor auditioning for the role of most important man alive in a movie that doesn't exist. Every exaggerated inhale, every imaginary gust of heroic wind fluttering through non-existent hair, every slow blink meant to convey destiny had the audience dissolving. It was like watching a motivational speaker use a mirror that also insulted him. Then with perfect comedic precision, Kimmel hurled himself back into Trump's self-celebration era. Trump in this universe carried himself like an endless award show featuring exactly one nominee, him. According to Kimmel's hyperbole, Trump doesn't just think he's the center of attention, he believes oxygen exists specifically to enhance his stage presence. Every dramatic gesture Kimmel imitated sent the audience into another spiral.
After a year of stalling, hedging, browbeating members of his own party last night, all of a sudden Trump reversed course completely. He wrote, House Republicans should vote to release the Epstein files.
We have nothing to do with Epstein.
I have some bad news. There's no we. It's just you, bro.
All of his friends were Democrats.
That's right. All his friends are Democrats, including this one. Right there, yeah. But don't let that distract you from the Donald Trump version of this story.
Mr. President, what did Jeffrey Epstein mean in his emails when he said you knew about the girls?
I know nothing about that. Surely, what did he mean when he spent all the time with Bill Clinton?
That's right. Bill Clinton should immediately resign as President of the United States.
For a moment, the room understood there was no safe zone left. The jokes came from every direction, close-range blasts with the intensity of satire fired through a pressure washer. Trump represented a Broadway musical about himself. Kimmel became the comedian determined not to let either fantasy pass unmocked. His transitions were so smooth the audience barely recovered from one punchline before the next hit. Patel struck heroic poses for imaginary history books. Trump waved proudly to imaginary crowds. Patel delivered statements like ancient revelations. Trump nodded like he was unveiling the eighth wonder of the world. And Kimmel narrated their dueling cinematic universes with zero hesitation and less mercy. The punchlines didn't just land, they vibrated. People slumped in their chairs, defeated by laughter. The studio felt like a battlefield where the only casualties were everyone's ability to breathe normally. But Kimmel wasn't satisfied. He needed a finale dramatic enough to wrap the entire saga in fireworks. So he blended Patel and Trump into one last cascading comedic crescendo, a mashup of unstoppable self-seriousness and unstoppable self-praise. Patel, forever preparing to dramatically reveal information that sounds like a soap opera plot twist. Trump, forever prepared to announce that he is the plot twist. Patel, the man who finds conspiratorial destiny in every parking garage shadow. Trump, the man who finds glowing red carpets in every reflection, even a toaster.